In this session, we will look at how to apply basic format to the data that we have displayed on our web page. We will start out by applying border to the table that we have displayed. All right, so we're going to head over to the code for the table. We're going to locate the table tag, and inside we're going to enter border. I'm going to indicate that the border that we're using is border 2. All right, so let's look at what this looks like first. So I'm going to save and just go back and refresh. Now here we'll notice that the border appears, but it appears as double lines. What we'll have to do is just to collapse the border if we want to see it as single lines. Otherwise, we can leave it as it is. So for demonstration purposes, I'll just head back over to the code and I'm going to apply a style. So I'm going to say style. I could have created a section for the style, but I'm just going to do it in inline for now. So style is equal to border collapse, and the border collapse that we're using is collapse. All right. So once we have entered this, we can just save and refresh our page, and we should then be seeing the border appearing as single line. All right, so let's just check back and see if we missed something. It's border collapse. There's an extra S. Save. And let's go back and refresh. And there it is. So the border now appear the way that we want it on the screen. All right, so the next thing that we are going to look at is how to go about formatting the form that we would have created earlier on. All right, so for this, we are going to apply a bit of CSS style. All right, so first of all, let us put the heading, that's the add new, in the center of the screen. So we're going to head over to the code and let's do them one by one. All right, so here we have the code for the add department, and we're going to center the heading. So we're going to just go in the H2 tag and we're going to say style equal to text align. And the text align that we're using is the center align. All right. So once we have entered that, if we save and refresh, we should then be seeing our heading in the center. All right, good. Now we are also going to create an even space between our labels here. So we want an even space between the label and the text box that is displayed here. All right, so first of all, what we're going to do is just to mark these as labels. So let me just bring that up. We are applying the labels, and this label is for our department ID. Our next label is for department name. Our next label is for department location. All right. We have added our labels, and remember the label starts here. So here's the starting tag for the label, and it closes here. So each label is surrounded by the tag. All right, so it's a label for dep ID, and within the tag here, we have department ID. This is what will display on the screen. All right. All right, the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to apply some CSS to the labels so we can get an even width among them. So we're going to head up to our head. I'm going to create a style tag. And we can handle all our CSS up here. So we're going to start with the label. So for the label, we are going to display it inline so that we can apply a width and a height. Let's say display inline block. All right, so if we don't do this, we won't be able to apply like a width, all right, to the label. All right, so having done this, we can now see the width of the label. I'll give it about a 20% width. All right, then we can add some paddings and stuff, but let's look what it looks like now. All right, so already it starts to look a bit better. All right, so let's also add some paddings around the label. So we're gonna add a top padding, a right, a bottom, and a left. So these are the paddings. So we're gonna say padding, and padding is just a little space, extra space. The first figure I'm gonna enter here, the 12 pixels for the top, the other 12 pixels is for the right, the other 12 pixels is for the bottom, and I'm gonna put 10 on the left. All right, so that takes care of our label. All right, so let me just refresh so you can see. All right, so we have some extra space. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be looking at, we're going to look at how to apply some format to our text fields so that they appear a little bit larger on the screen. All right, so I'm going to head back to CSS. I'm going to go to the input type, text. All right. So let's apply this one. So for this one, we're going to apply the CSS to input, and the one that we're applying it to is the one that is the type is equal to text. Right. And remember, these are our text fields. All right, this input type equal text. So that's what we're applying this CSS to. All right, so first of all, we are going to apply a little border radius. That is, we're going to add a little curve to the edge here. All right. So it's something that you might find interesting. So we can say border radius. I put 7 pixels. And the rounder you want it, the higher the pixel you would use for that. All right. And while I'm here, I'm also going to change the width. Make it about 50%. It's good to use percentage. So if we resize the screen, it will remain the expected size. All right, we're not finished, but let's just do a preview. So that's what we have so far. So the 50% width is how wide it is now. And the border radius is the curve that we would have seen around it. All right, so let's make this a little higher. So we're going to add some padding. So for the padding, let's say padding is going to be 12 pixels at the top. And we're going to put about 20 pixels to the right. And let's see the marvelous difference it makes. All right, so there it is. So now we have them wider and higher. All right, the next thing that we need to do is to set the margin. All right, so you notice that this one joins onto this one. So let's apply some margin so we can have them separated. All right, so we're gonna go to margin. So we're gonna say margin and apply 8 pixels by 0. All right, so you notice that the top will increase by 8. All right, let's refresh so we can see. All right, so there it is. So we now have the text boxes separated. All right. You're also going to indicate how the sizing should be done. So we're going to use the box sizing, which is the border box. All right, so this will tell the system how to size this. All right, so that takes care of our input type. All right, our input fields. All right, good. The next thing that we're going to look at is the buttons here. Let's center these buttons. So I'm going to put them in the center. And to do that, we are going to just create a little div and just to mark that space where the buttons are. So I'll come down here and where the buttons are. That's right. Here we have 2 buttons. And we use div to create different divisions in on our web page. So we're going to say div. I'm going to mark it by a class. I'm going to say class is equal to buttons. I'm going to close the div here. Now up here, since we have marked this section, call it button, we're going to use a selector. That's a class selector. So we're going to have to say dot buttons. Right, so the name of the class is buttons. So we're going to say dot buttons up here. And we are selecting a class, you put a dot before them, before the name that you'll have used. And all we're going to say up here is we're going to align. So we're going to say text align, make that center, and that will put the text, put the buttons in the center of the screen. All right, so let's look at that. So I put the button in the center of the screen. I'm going to create a little margin around it at the top. So I'm going to create a little space up here. So I'm going to just go back. So for the margin top, let's put 4%. All right, good, looking much better. All right, so the final thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create a little space around this where I can apply a nice little shade. So I'm gonna put all of this into a div. Then I can apply some format to it. All right, so let's head back to the code. So starting from below the body here, we are going to create a div, and this div, I'll mark it by the class container. All right. Good. And I'm going to close this div at just below the, just before the body closes. All right. So what we can do now, so this is for this one. All right, so we are gonna apply some format to the container. So we can set like a background. I'm gonna set a background. Remember, it's a class, so we select it by saying that container. All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna apply a background. So I'm gonna say background. All right, so the background color I'm using, it's gonna be a little gray. That's like this. All right, so you can use whichever color you want to use. So I'm using this gray color. That's F2, F2, F2. And we can look at it. As you can see, there's a little gray around this. I'm going to create a little padding. I'm going to put a little padding so you have a little space. All right, so let's look at that. So that's the color. And now we are going to apply padding of 20 pixels around. So we'll say padding. Having done that, let's refresh. Also have a little extra space around. That's what the padding does. And finally, we're going to apply a little border radius just to curve up these edges. Curve up this, curve up this. All right, so we're going to apply our border radius. So I'm going to say border radius. I'm going to put it about 30 pixels. You can set it to whatever you want it, depending on how round you want it to look. So make sure to save after you have applied the changes. And here refresh. And if you notice here, this is curve, this is curve. All right, so those are just some basic steps that you can take to format your page. All right. I know I have not exhausted all that you can do, but feel free to do research and apply additional formats. Thank you very much for watching.